And with us is Bob Chapman from the International Forecaster. Hi, Bob. Please bring us up to date with what's really going on in the world.
Well, hello and good evening. And what's going on in the world? We just watched the Working Group on Financial Markets, better known as the Plunge Protection Team, take the market from a minus 200 to even in about an hour. But that's what they're supposed to do, rig everything, manipulate. And that's what our government's all about. Of course, gold today is under a little pressure, but not much.
What are they doing about silver? You've commented several times that Morgan Stanley, or I guess it's J.P. Morgan Chase, is trying to get rid of their shorts in silver. Is that really true? Are they still trying to buy out their own shorts, or what are they doing?
Yeah, they are, because there's two investigations, one civil and the other criminal. And I don't think they'll ever be charged criminally because they're part of the Brotherhood of Darkness. But they will be charged civilly.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back in just a moment with Bob Chapman.
Yeah.
Well, this is Dr. Stan, and I'm just talking to Bob Chapman. He's saying he's been talking to some German bankers who've told him that the people in Germany do not want to be in the Eurozone. They do not like this idea of the common market. They don't want to give up their sovereignty. They don't want to have to be responsible for all the other countries over there that are acting irresponsibly, whereas at least Germany is acting somewhat responsibly. So what did the bankers say, Bob?
Well, I say the Germans have acted very responsibly. And ever since the imposition of the euro, which was part of a deal for them to get Eastern Germany back. And part of that deal was to accept the Eastern Germany Reichsmark 1-to-1, and also for Germany to join the Eurozone. They didn't do it voluntarily. They were forced to. Most people don't know this because it's never come out. But I wrote about it at the time, and everybody scoffed, and of course everybody's wrong. Anyway, the German people are on the edge. An average of 70% for years has wanted the D-mark back. They didn't want the euro. And, Germans would not accept any euros that weren't made in Germany. Most people don't know that either. And so, in other words, if they got a euro note, say a 500 euro note from Italy, they wouldn't accept it. They'd say, take it to the bank. I don't want it. And so there's a strong feeling there. And now they, among others, are being forced to support several countries who have had problems. Greece and Italy through profligacy, and Ireland, Portugal, and Spain because they had one interest rate for everybody, which was a disaster. I mean, when they came out with that at the Maastricht Treaty and the 3% of GDP in public debt maximum, I said this thing's never going to work. Anyway, I was right, unfortunately. And so where they headed now, I think Germany is headed towards riots. You get one side rioting because they've been deceived, like in Greece. They really were deceived. I mean, they didn't cause that. Their bureaucrats and politicians, and particularly the bankers and Goldman Sachs, were responsible for what happened in Greece, as well as Italy. We haven't seen Italy burgeon yet, but it will. And the other three nations get carried away with low interest rates, which they should have never had. And it caused the real estate boom, and I think you all know the outcome of that, just like in the United States. Incidentally, France had a mini boom in real estate. I'd say probably half of what went on in the other countries, Ireland, Spain, and Portugal. But the German real estate over the last 10 years is not even appreciated. Period. And, the Germans went out and they saved money and they cut corners and they exported whole piles of stuff and they increased their productivity. They did everything right. And here they got to pay for it. And, there's even been talk in Europe about a new, quote, zone, which doesn't include France, which I think is laughable. And France isn't in that good a position right now. Not bad, but it certainly isn't good. So, anyway, that kind of sums Europe up. I think, under the circumstances, we're headed to one-to-one parity with the euro.
In other words, $1 for
when.
Okay, $1 for €1. It's been $1.50 of the dollar. It was it took $1.50 to buy a euro, and you think that the value of the euro is going to drop down, so it'll be a 1-to-1 ratio.
It's already 123.
Right.
Traded down into the 122s today, and everybody in Europe knows what I know, but you don't see it in the American media. Either because they don't understand or they're scared to print it.
Well, of course,
so
the fall of the
situation in Europe. And, somebody wrote in another program today and said the Greeks are this, that, and the other thing. And I said, wait a minute. They didn't have a clue to what was going on in their government for the last 10 years. The bureaucrats, the politicians, Goldman Sachs, and particularly the bankers knew exactly what they were doing. They were looting the country. And now they want to give, the bankers and their buddies, they want to give Greece money to pay the interest of the bonds so the bankers can get paid. And when I was on radio, television, and interviewed the largest newspaper in the country, they said, well, what do you do? I said, very simple. You default on everything. You leave the Eurozone, go back to the drachma, clean up your country, make people pay taxes, jump up your productivity, and start exporting. It's pretty simple. You know what to do, do it. And I didn't hear a pin drop after that because that's tough to swallow, but the Greeks and others have to realize they're going to have a depression anyway. So they may as well have it in their own terms. And, the slogan is screw the bankers. They're the ones that cause this problem. So let them eat it. And the same thing is true in the United States with the mortgages. We should never had TARP and $23.7 trillion worth of bailouts. You got to be kidding me. They should have let every one of them go under. The banks, the brokerage firms, the insurance companies. That's what capitalism's all about. You make a mess out of things, you go bankrupt.
But, of course, now they say, they're too big to fail. My goodness, we let them go down. It'll destroy everything. Everything's got to be destroyed one way or the other. At least we might have something when we get all done if we could simply let the major banks go down. And what people don't understand here in America is the point you made so well, Bob, and that is that we are giving, I don't know whether it's 50 or 90 billion dollars, of course, to the European unit over there, the IMF, so they can give the money to Greece, so Greece can pay the interest on their bonds or buy their bonds back. And then this is really all about really bailing out the big banks. That's why we gave the money to AIG so we could transfer it to the major banks. And what are the American people going to understand? That we are simply raping the citizens so that we can enrich the banks. It's the greatest transfer of wealth that's ever taken place, and you're never going to read that in the controlled media because the banks work in concert with the people who control the media, and the average American's totally unaware of what's going on.
Well, you're absolutely right, and this process is really totally disruptive of what the Brotherhood of Darkness wants. They wanted something totally different, which I talked about before. The meeting, the devaluations, and the defaults all together. They're not going to get it. They're going to get it one by one, and that's the worst possible thing, because more and more people are going to be probing into what's been going on. Even Pompidou, who's an Illuminist, he's a member of the Bilderberger Group, even he was forced to investigate taking legal action against Goldman Sachs. So Europe is in a very, very foul mood, and rightly so. And I think things are going to change dramatically for the worse over there. And it's going to continue to perpetuate a downside in markets, a downside in the economy, a downside in finances. And there's no way in the world you can throw money at something and make it work.
Well, especially when it isn't real money, it's make-believe money because there's nothing behind it. They just create it out of nothing. What's going to happen in China? Certainly China's overheated market. They're beginning to raise the reserve requirements, beginning to raise their interest rates, even letting the value of their currency go up a little bit. But the difficulty with the value of the euro falling, that means that China's going to have a lot more difficulty exporting or sending their goods, getting the people in Europe to buy their goods. And what happens if other countries throughout the world just slow down their buying of Chinese products? What's that going to do to the Chinese economy? And if the Chinese economy gets shaky, what's that going to do to the rest of the world's economy?